today's modern comic writers, they have no sense of subtlety whatsoever. It really comes across as a real net negative for comic books and just fiction in general. One of the real examples is Pride Month. We're seeing a lot of publishers wanting to come out and support Pride Month and show their support for the cause, but they're just going so overboard with it, and everything, just all the magic and anything fun just gets absolutely ripped out of the comic book and potentially destroys these characters. They end up being pretty much DOA before they ever really make their debut. And today I've got a few examples. We do know that we've got this Teen Justice coming out from Multiversity with Danny Lore, and DC Comics have picked the absolute worst way, in my opinion, to introduce DC Comics readers to the characters. Let's emphasize their pronouns, because of course, if you were a hero on Earth 11, you would have the exact same problems and issues as you perceive that you have them here on Earth Prime, or what we like to call the real world. Let's make everything as boring as possible. And in the Marvel Comics Pride Anthology, they're going to introduce a new trans-mutant character. Remember when mutants were like allegories for outcasts, people that didn't feel like they fit in society? Well, apparently that's not enough anymore. Not only do you have to be a mutant so you can be an allegory for an outcast, but you got to have a trans mutant in there so you can have representation to go with it. It just kind of takes the fun and the point of the X-Men being in the Marvel Universe to begin with. There's no room for subtlety whatsoever in modern-day comic books. There's also going to be a celebration in a realm for Pride Month. Why does everyone celebrate Pride Month that isn't in our world? Couldn't they call it something else? Couldn't they celebrate it differently or in a different month than us? Why does everything have to be so goddamn boring today? Well, let's get into some of these examples. There's no way that DC Comics Multiversity Teen Justice is ever going to sell a comic book. They have terrible creators, headlined by Danny Lore, but this is the way that they're introducing you to the new heroes if you didn't meet them already. Here we see old Kid Quick, Jess Chambers, pronouns, they, them, there. Here's an honest question. I think the whole pronoun debate is absolutely silly, but honestly, how many people in the world do you think that speaks to in a positive light? I would imagine it's far less than the people that it's negative to, or other people that just don't care. Apparently, Earth 11 is no longer just the Earth where everyone's genders are backwards compared to Earth Prime, but it's also the Prider. Every one of these characters is LGBTQ plus representative now. I don't think that was the intention of Earth 11. I don't think that's what Grant Morrison was shooting for when he mapped out all the multiverses in Multiversity. And I imagine this is one of the reasons that Grant Morrison rolls his eyes and said, yeah, I don't think I want people messing with the stuff that I've really worked on. I understand DC would like to bring these characters like Kid Quick, Aqua Girl, Supergirl, this other version of Robin, and this other version of Troy back for Pride Month. But could they do anything remotely interesting with these characters? Listen to how stupid this is for old Jackie Hyde, she, her, hers. The teenage protege of Aquawoman, Aqua Girl, has the weight of two worlds on her shoulder. Jacquees' natural leadership skills also give her a special place in Teen Justice. You'll notice every single one of them have leadership skills. Apparently there's not a single leader. And with super strength and the power to live underwater and the ability to discharge powerful bolts of electricity from her fingertips, how many fish has this character killed? She's supposed to be the Aqua Girl. Why is she shooting out bolts of electricity underwater? Water is a conductor of electricity. That would be very dangerous, not only for the aquatic life around Aqua Girl, but probably all the other mermen and merwomen and Atlanteans that are around the character. And I do say again, why do the people on Earth 11 even give a shit about pronouns? Why are they as lame as we are on our Earth? Grant Morrison did everything in his power to make this universe cool and unique, and then you bring in a hack writer like a Danny Lore, and they will do everything in their power to destroy it and make it as lame as absolutely possible so they can hit you over the head with arguments ad nauseum about all the lame-ass stuff going on our Earth, like the pronoun debate. This last one that I'm going to show you, this is the worst one. Donald Troy. He, him, his. Oh my goodness. I remember when they started gender bending all the characters, and now we got a female Thor, we're going to have this. And so I was like, you would never do that to a man. I saw old Donald Troy and I was like, I wish you just hadn't called me on my bluff, or this never existed. Look at the design of this character and how stupid it is. He's wearing MC Hammer pants. No one has wore those trying to look cool since the late 80s, early 90s. Is he going to go pick up some Taco Bell while he's at it? And of course, we've got a hint that he's got a little romance angle in the works with another member of Teen Justice. Troy's role is sometimes that of the muscle, but what seems to be a lack of intellect is actually a state of frequent distraction. unsure of his past, he's focused on finding a stable future, one that may lie with teen justice or perhaps with the brooding and mysterious hero called Raven. I know you all are just as surprised as I am that old Donald Troy has the hots for Raven, the he, him, his gender-bent version of the character in Earth 11, who will be making his triumphant debut in Multiversity Teen Justice #1. Put that on your pull list. This is a speculator item, folks. I'm 100% certain one of the motivations of comic book creators today is to take the enjoyment and the fun out of comic books. This is serious stuff. There are serious things going on in the world. You can't escape pronoun debates and stuff like that. But at some point, DC and Marvel just became willing accomplices. I don't understand it, at the expense of their own audience, the people that actually pay for this tripe. And what the hell is the marketing department at DC Comics doing? You need to come up with a hook. Anything to make these characters interesting. Make them seem like heroes, because right now, they just seem like posters for Pride Month. And the little cards that you put out kind of back that up. Why don't we tell people what they do that's so exciting, who they save, what makes the character actually interesting, beside their sexuality and what pronouns they use? An overwhelming majority of comic book readers could absolutely give a fuck less about the sexuality and the preferred pronouns of these heroes. If I'm going to buy a comic book, it's because I want to see who the hero is. What do they represent? What makes them special? What makes them cool? And it feels like all of that has been lost in modern comic books. And it's not just DC Comics. You got to listen to stuff that Marvel Comics is doing for Marvel Voices Pride #1 for 2022, not to be mistaken for Marvel Voices Pride 2021. It's the same exact comic book, but it's a number, whatever, man. Come on, let's find a new name, or at least call it a #2 issue. Marvel Voices Pride #1 will introduce a new transmutant to the publisher's universe. Shella Sexton Escapade will debut in Pride #1 in a story by Charlie Jane Anders. Marvel's press release provides a summary of Escapade's powers, saying she can instantaneously switch physical locations with another person or trade any specific physical or abstract attribute such as possessions, organizational status, skills, superhuman powers, and even situations. However, there are limitations to those abilities, as Escapade is only able to maintain the power for a few hours at a time and must be within 7 feet of her target, and the more complex the switch, the higher the chance of mishap. Well, I'll give them this. They gave the character a pretty distinct power. Doesn't really make sense for a mutant, and is kind of stupid even by Grant Morrison's new X-Men standards. But look at the design. There's nobody in the world that likes comic books that sees that character design and is like, fuck yes, I need to find out about Escapade. What's Escapade all about? The design itself is so beyond boring and lame ass that you just essentially set the character up to never ever be successful. Not only that, you introduced a character in Marvel Voices Pride #1, which makes it feel like the character is just a marketing ploy so that you can show your pride during Pride Month. And we know a vast majority of those characters end up never being used again. So why invest in the character at all? One of the reasons a lot of people are really drawn to X-Men is because they kind of are an allegory to people that feel like outcasts in society, whether it be because of your race, your gender, your age, maybe a physical disability, anything like that. If you felt like an outsider, you could kind of relate to the X-Men. And the fact that people were kind of mean to him, like you think about a Nightcrawler, he was treated very poorly. I mean, they were chasing him down with pitchforks and fire and stuff to try and get a hold of him because they thought he was a monster. Turns out he's got a heart of gold. And despite every bad thing that humanity did to him, he did the right thing. He joined the X-Men, and he's been saving people, saving humans, the people that weren't very nice to him, for decades now. Well, that is a really cool story. That's something that you want to relate to. Despite all the bad stuff Nightcrawler went through, he does the right thing because he is inherently a good guy. He's a hero. And that's one of the things that really drew readers to the X-Men themselves, is because they were allegories. But in today's climate, everything's so boring. It's got to be right on the nose. We can't have a character that could be an allegory to where someone that's trans could relate to him, or maybe somebody that physically was kind of weak and bullied, they could relate to him, or maybe somebody with a handicap. Everyone could kind of relate to these heroes. Now we have to make individual representation within the X-Men. It's kind of ridiculous. One of the reasons that the idea itself is accessible is that everyone can relate. There isn't really a skin color to these characters. They're weird colors. You look at the X-Men, they're outcasts. There's something about them that separates them. Obviously, in the Marvel Universe, it makes them heroic. It gives them the ability to save people. That doesn't really translate to the real world. But there's struggles that are happening behind the scenes when they're not saving people really are relatable. And I think that's why X-Men is so popular. But that's just not enough nowadays. We got to have something so directly representative of it. We got to hammer you over the head with it and take anything magical and fun out of comic books. Listen to this last one that's also going to be debuting in Marvel Pride number 1. Asgard will hold its very first Pride celebration hosted by Valkyrie. This is what podcaster Ira Madison, who I believe is one of the writers, had to say. The Valkyries are bad bitches, and Runa should become a Marvel icon. Plus, I've always wanted to write for Loki and Thor, and who doesn't love Pride? Why the fuck would they have Pride Month in Asgard? Why are we dumbing down Asgard to our level? They have their own unique culture. They have their own unique things going on there. It's like if they did the Star Wars holiday celebration, and all of a sudden they were going to go celebrate Christmas on Kaishak instead of Life Day, it would have been like, why the fuck are the Wookiees celebrating Christmas? Why would they even know about Santa Claus? That's in a galaxy far, far away. They actually used a little bit of creativity and came up with their own holiday that kind of represented similar things to what we do, and it was easy to understand what the Wookiees were celebrating. But there's no creativity left in comic books anymore. These writers are so fucking boring and lame ass, they can't even come up with an interesting way to represent celebrating Pride in Asgard. It just has to be Pride. It's got to have the same flag, got to be celebrated on the same day. It's like, can we do anything fun with comic books anymore? Can we only deal with shit going on in the real world? Are we going to make comic books so lame ass and boring that we just drive everybody away, except for the people that want to watch the news? I don't know about you. I don't get my news from ABC. I get my news from Marvel. I go and I read my X-Men comic book and I learn about what's going on with trans rights. And it's like, and I picked up Thor the other day and I learned about what was happening on with Pride Month and stuff. It was like, get the fuck out of here. Have a little bit of fun. Stop ruining comic books. There are more than enough LGBTQ representative characters in the Marvel and DC universe that are completely forgotten about and not being used right now that could probably use a little bit of TLC and spotlight in some of these anthologies, and they just keep creating new and new characters that they can forget about after they've gotten like a headline. And please come up with a better marketing scheme. There's nobody that reads that Kid Quick thing is like, oh, we got some pronouns. I'm interested in this character. Everyone's like, God, fucking pronouns again? Get out of here with that shit. If you're interested in more information regarding what Marvel and DC are doing to celebrate Pride Month, I actually have a video kind of talking about at least the preliminary information that we had. They're having a Pride off between Marvel and DC. Who can Pride better? Definitely check this video out, get the information, and hey, put something on your pull list if you're interested in it.